Hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So this is Krishna Ma'am and we're talking about the story of life with Earth, and that's biology. So today here we are in the last session, the last chapter of your CBSE Term 2 revision. So the quick revision, and the topic here is biodiversity and conservation. Yes sir, a very happy good evening. Thank you so much for joining my session well in advance, and I'm really sorry for being a couple of minutes late. So it was a technical issue. So otherwise, thank you so much for joining my session. So I hope you guys are preparing with a good spirit, with a good motivation, a positive vibe, etc. Because your bio paper is in just 2 days time. So the 2 days will just fly off like anything by the time you brood over the paper, and by the time and the transition between you want to study and you don't want to study, so things will end there. So I hope you're preparing well. So just 2 more days and then your main paper gets over. So the last paper is physical education. So I don't think that's going to be really tough. Alright, so today let's finish off the most easiest, the smallest chapter of your CBSE Term 2, Biodiversity and Conservation. So wait and watch, it'll get over in 10 minutes like this. So it's a very beautiful chapter. It's a very small chapter, but a lot of things that we have to interpret in this chapter. So let's see how this chapter goes about, right? Yes. Ma'am, what is the agenda for tomorrow's class? You have revised all the chapter today. So we are done with all the 6 chapters revision. So what are we going to do tomorrow? So tomorrow we are going to discuss one sample paper. So I have one very good sample paper, so which is a bit tough. So when I discuss the tough paper, your easy things are going to be easy. So I will discuss that paper with you tomorrow. And on Monday, so we will have the paper discussion. So you have the board exam. So I'll discuss the paper live, the paper that is happening on Monday. I'll discuss that in the evening at 5:30. And from Tuesday, we are back into track preparing for NEET. So you'll have your one-shot series, you'll have your quiz. So you'll have tremendous preparation for your NEET that is going on. So 2 more days, then we'll wind up with the board exams. Okay? Yes, for all those who are behind me for mentee, yes, you will have a very soon mentee, a grand mentee we'll have. So we'll play the mentee, all right? Yes. So here we go. So this is how the chapter is divided: biodiversity and biodiversity conservation, right? So first of all, we're going to talk about what is biodiversity, how many types, how many levels, so why is this needed, so how is the distribution in the pie chart, so why tropics have more biodiversity than the temperate, etc. So in the next part, we'll be talking about why should we conserve. So in the first part, we'll be also talking about the loss of biodiversity. So in the second part, basically, we're also going to talk about the biodiversity conservation, all right? Yes. Okay, so what is biodiversity? So nothing but variety. So diversity is variety, right? So India is diverse, so it has a lot of variety. So biodiversity, so diversity in living organisms, right? So it was popularized by the term Edward Wilson. Okay, so whatever scientist name that is given in your NCERT, you should read that. Fine. Diversity is the variability among living organisms for all sources, including terrestrial, marine and other aquatic ecosystems and the ecological complexes of which they are a part. Okay, so that is your biodiversity. So your biodiversity has many levels and many types. So the many levels are species, between species and ecosystems. So I hope you remember this: cells make up tissue, tissues make up organs, organs make up organ system. So organ system makes up an individual, individual makes up a population makes up a particular community, a community makes up your ecosystem, ecosystem makes up the biome, biome makes up the landscape, right? That's all about it. So we move further. So we're going to talk about the combined diversity, so the genetic diversity, species diversity and ecological diversity. So you have diversity at the genetic level. So when I say I have a Labrador and when I say I have a German Shepherd, both are dogs, right? They belong to the same species. Yes. So there are varieties in the same species. So I can mate a Labrador with a golden retriever. So when species are the ones which can breed among themselves. So you have so many varieties at the species level. So this is with so many plants, with other varieties of the animals as well, right? So the examples you have to remember: Ralphia, Wormateria, the mangoes, the rice, etc. So the next one is the species diversity, that is diversity at the species level. So I can say I have more species in India compared to a country. Sorry, I can say I have more amount of, say, cows in the more variety of cow in the North India than in the South India. So excuse me, sorry. So I'm talking about one species, but how that species is spread or how many varieties are there in a particular place, that is species diversity. Ecological diversity, so I can say India as a whole has lot of diverse things. So it has a desert, it has the coastal area, it has the snow-laden Himalayas. So we are diverse at the ecological level as well. For each of the level of biodiversity, you have to remember the examples. All right, yes, fine. So moving further, so how many species are there on Earth? So this is one important question. So you had one person called as Robert May who gave the approximate estimate to be 7 billion. Okay. Okay. So out of the 70% of all species, the major portion, sorry, out of 100% we consider whole is 100%. So out of that 70% is animals and the remaining are plants and the remaining are microorganisms. So that is how it is classified, right? So among animals, insects are the most common. So phylum Arthropoda, right? So of every 10 animals on this planet, 7 are insects here. So look into these pie charts. So these pie charts are very, very important with respect to your CBSE board. So a lot of times I have given sample paper to my student and the sample papers have this pie graph, have this pie chart. So they give this diagram and they say X and they say X, please explain the graph or please label the graph. So please make sure you read these graphs properly. So this is talking about invertebrates. So majority of them are insects, right? Then you have a small portion that is molluscs, then other animal groups, and in the middle it is your crustaceans, right? So then you have vertebrates, the majority of fishes, but some is shared by the amphibians, the reptiles, the birds and the mammals, right? So here the plants, so you have the fungi and the angiosperms. So some amount is mosses and ferns, but more than the ferns and mosses you have the algae, and to some extent you have the lichens, right? So this is how many species are there on Earth. So patterns of biodiversity. So what pattern does your biodiversity follow? So if you look into the globe that is present here, so you have this imaginary line passing. So this imaginary line is your equator. Okay, fine. So this is the pole, the North Pole and the South Pole we say. So as you go away from this pole, the diversity increases. Sorry, as you go away from the equator, the diversity increases. So which means as you're going forward towards the poles, the diversity decreases. So near the equator, the diversity increases or it's much abundant there. But why is this discrimination? Why isn't diversity uniform throughout the globe? So if it was uniform, we would have been able to see polar bears in India, right? That was not possible. So why isn't that the biodiversity not uniform here? So the reason being the tropics, the region near the equator are your tropics. Okay, so your tropics have speciation. It's a function of time. So tropics have more species because the climate or the environment is undisturbed. There's no frequent landslides, there's no frequent floods, there's no frequent earthquake. So it is very resistant and resilient, so it is withstanding it over time. The second reason is it's less seasonal. So in Kota, when I say it is very, very hot, and you don't know the next moment it can be raining. Nothing is predictable. So if I feel today it's going to be really rainy and I walk out somewhere for a long trip and if I go without umbrella inside Kota, it's going to be hell. So you don't know, it's not predictable. So now it's a good way, even if it's hot, if it's raining, you carry an umbrella, so it's useful in both the cases, right? But that is not the case in tropics. So tropics are less seasonal and they are more predictable. And the third one is there's more amount of sunlight in the tropic. If there's more sunlight, it means there's more productivity because plants are your primary producers, right? Yes? So we move forward. So we have one person called as Alexander von Humboldt. So he discovered something called as a species area relationship. So if I have a piece of forest and I enter the piece of forest, as I explore the piece of forest, the diversity of the forest increases. Right, only up to a certain point, because after that I have to exit that site, right? So that is what is depicted in this graph. So this is your S is equal to C A Z, A power Z. So if I take the logarithmic value of the slope, so it is log S is equal to log C plus Z log A. So once again, whenever you write an equation, please write what each term denotes in the equation. If you just write S is equal to C A power Z and write the logarithmic version of it and leave it, you're not gonna get marks, mind you. You have to explain what is S, you have to explain what is C, and you have to explain what is A. Fine? Yes? Okay, so S is species richness, A is area, Z is the slope of the line, and C is your y-intercept. So basically, if I want to find out, so this area is the maximum and this is the richness, this is the y-intercept. Fine, so the value of y is also mentioned, it lies between 0.1 to 0.2, right? Importance of diversity in an ecosystem. So can we call a particular ecosystem stable? Or how do I say a particular ecosystem is stable? When it is resilient and resistant to natural disturbances, right? And when the productivity does not vary drastically from year to year. So let's say in class 10 you were a school topper or a state topper. In class 11 you literally passed in the border. So you're not consistent in your performance. So same thing should not happen in a community. The productivity should be almost similar. There can be slight variations, not a huge shift in peak, right? But it should also withstand the natural disturbances, and even if it's badly hit, how quickly it takes time to recover to the original state. So that is resilience. All right. Yes. So this definition for a stable community was proved by David Tillman's observation. So increased diversity contributed to higher productivity. Okay. So 𝐉𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐵 hypothesis, it was given by Paul Eldredge. So from your board point of view, you can have a question, explain 𝐉𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐵 hypothesis. Okay, so you have to explain it. So it's not that you have to mug up the sentence that you do in your state board. So CBSE allows you to recreate in your own language, your own words, but don't beat around the bush. Right to the point, right? So what is 𝐉𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐵 hypothesis? So he compared the aeroplane to the ecosystem. Okay, he compared the parts of an aeroplane to the keystone system in an ecosystem, meaning the important species in an ecosystem. If one pulls out one small part from the aeroplane is not going to fall, it's going to continue growing. A small part, say someone pulled a seat from an aeroplane, it's not going to alter the way the plane is going to move, it's still going to fly smoothly. Similarly, if one species of ant is lost, you and I are not going to mount it, right? So still life proceeds. But if everyone thinks in the same way and picks one part to the other, ultimately at one point the aeroplane is going to fall and die. The same thing will happen to an ecosystem. So that was given by a Stanford ecologist, Paul Eldredge. All right. Yes, ma'am. Hello. Very, very happy good evening. Thank you so much for watching my session. So please do like, share and subscribe. Yes, clear? So loss of biodiversity, so we have lost tremendous amount of creatures, so these have become extinct. So this is your thylacine, this is your Tasmanian wolf, your sea calf, your dodo birds and your 3 varieties of tigers all have become extinct. So when I say extinct, there is no single individual left. When I say endangered, there are only a few individuals in single or double digits left and they are on the verge of extinction. When I say they are threatened, so they can enter the endangered state. And when I say they are vulnerable, so they can become endangered, they can become threatened. So these are the various terms that you use when it comes to biodiversity. So why have we lost biodiversity? So if we lose biodiversity, what will happen? So first thing, you will have decline in plant production. The productivity will decrease. Right? So we will no longer be resistant, we will not be strong because the immune system is damaged, that is the plant. We will not be resilient, we will not be able to recover to the old state. So there can be increased variability, so your performance is not consistent, it can vary. So that can happen if biodiversity is lost. So why is your biodiversity... So why is your biodiversity lost? So because of these 4 reasons. So first of all, we have lost biodiversity because of habitat loss and fragmentation. So all of us travel now and then, right? So when you travel, when you travel outskirts of a city, it's going to be only bushy forest. So when I was a child, when I used to travel with my parents, so I used to find, so towards the end of a city, so the outskirts of two cities is going to be completely forested area. I used to feel a little bit scared when it's getting dark. But now you see the outskirts of the city is flourishing with a lot of buildings with a lot of commercial value, right? So people prefer outskirts of the city because they think that is more developing today. So in a way, we have cut down all the forest and we have caused all the habitat that was present in the forest to move out. And today when birds and animals come to us for shelter, we shoo them away. How rude of a creature we are, how rude of a race we are in the world, right? But this is the most, among the 4 points, the first one is the main reason why we are having loss of biodiversity, that is habitat loss and your fragmentation. The second is exploitation turns to greed. So this happens with us, right? So one car, not enough. We need to buy 2 cars. One phone, no, I need 2 phones today. One house, no, we have to show we need to have 2 houses. So that gives me a status. But I live in a hut, no, how it is going to make a difference as long as you're happy? But no. So if you have one house, fine. But when you walk into a family and they say, we have a house here, we have a house here, we have a house here, the first thing I think is how much pollution do you cause? And it's in turn overexploitation, greed, need has become greed, right? So everyone wants more and more and more. So that is why we are fighting among the same race. So alien species invasion. So very simple example. So when pizza from the West came into Indian culture, so a lot of our traditional Indian snack is forgotten. So today when you have to go for an official party, when you have to go for a birthday party with someone, the preferred location is Domino's or Pizza Hut. No one wants to go to a roadside shop and read something that is very, very street flavored or nothing like that, right? So you don't want to go for traditional foods. All of us want to go for the modernized food. So that has killed the traditional foods that we eat, which are way, way healthier. So similarly, so when you bring a foreign being here and it will kill our indigenous species, so that is alien species invasion. The next one is your co-extinction. So plants and pollinators coexist. So when the plants do not have pollinators, neither of them are going to survive, right? So this is your co-extinction. So this is your Nile perch. When this was bought from a foreign country and introduced, so this led to the extinction of 20 endogenous fishes because it was a predator, right? So it ate all the food that these fishes would otherwise eat. So how do we conserve? So before we conserve, we should know the use. So biodiversity is not important to the entire community. It is important to the entire community as well as to an individual. So today, if you need spices in the kitchen, you need plants, you need forest. If you need clean environment, clean air to breathe, you need the biodiversity, right? So that is how it is useful to an individual as well, useful to a society as well. Right? So how do you conserve them? You conserve them on the particular site in which they are harmed, or you take them to a safe site and you conserve them. When you do it in the same site where they are affected or harmed, that is in situ. When you take them to another protected site, that is in ex situ. So in situ conservation is what you call hotspots. A lot of regions in India today are hotspots. So you have almost 4 or 5 hotspots in India. So what is an hotspot? We will see in the next slide. So who comes under the in situ conservation is your 14 biosphere reserves, 18 national parks, 448 wildlife sanctuaries. So they all come under this in situ conservation. So ex situ conservation is like your zoo where you bring animals from the forest and put it under human observation. So your botanical gardens, so they are all ex situ conservation. Okay. A bit very fast. So hotspot is the region where you have high threat, where you have high species diversity and you have endemism. There are some species which cannot be present anywhere in the world, right? So this is a list of forests, the conservation site and the animal that is conserved where. So if I say Gir forest, you know it's lions that is being conserved. These are some of the species which are endangered, so you can go through them. So these are some of the plants that have become extinct. Yeah. So the criteria, the richest and the most threatened reservoirs of plant and animal life on earth are your hotspots. So the criteria is that they have very high level of species richness, high endemism, that is animals present in a particular area, the degree of threat measured in habitat loss. So these are the in situ conservation, and the sacred groves names are here. So the ex situ conservation, I told you, it's botanical gardens, your zoos, cryopreservation, etc. So with this, we come to the end of your quick revision of biodiversity and conservation, a very, very small chapter. Now it's your responsibility to read your NCERT and give the exam. So don't worry, tomorrow I'm meeting, so we are going to discuss sample paper. So before that, please log on to and check out our books and our questions. I have the Google books if you want, or you can purchase a textbook as hard copy in Amazon. So please buy the test series and please practice the test series. So it's an utmost request because you're all going to give NEET this year, right? So please, you should know how to manage time, and you should know how to sit for 3 hours and use your brains. That's the toughest part, right? And please spread the word. Our course is beginning from 1st of June. So I want to see your participation. At least give the CPSAT exam, you know where you will stand, right? So, okay, so with this, we end today's session. So if you genuinely liked my way of teaching, so please do like, share and subscribe. So this is me signing off. So before that, I would request you to watch my video on Hitbox, which has been uploaded on all the channels of your eCareerPoint. So make sure you watch them, and please do like, share and subscribe. And please do comment your opinions, your reactions in the comment box. I would like to see. So thank you. I will meet you on tomorrow at 5:30. So until then, this is me signing off. So take care and bye. Thank you.